Hello everyone. I hope everyone is doing good, everyone is safe. So today we are going to start a new subsection of our webinar series that is for our physio colleagues and upcoming physios, because there were so many requests we were getting for this also. So we thought of starting a new subsection. So let's start with what is physiotherapy and what scope do you have beyond physiotherapy. So for that we have our own Dr. Nupur Mungekar who is going to talk to us about that. We will be discussing what we can do beyond physiotherapy. So over to you, Nupur.
Yeah, hi Asmita. Thank you so much. So today we are discussing about physiotherapy and beyond. So a little bit about why I took up this topic is if you have missed our first the webinars. So I am a physiotherapist basically, but apart from that, I have even done I have stepped into management. So I was working as a quality officer at my hospital. So beyond physiotherapy, I decided to dive into management, and it has shown a different way into the topic for me as well. I have been doing physiotherapy and management together, so I thought might as well discuss it with you students that how you can beyond physiotherapy step into hospital admin and various other things that you can think of. And even when you're done with your physiotherapy education, there are a lot of questions that pop up into our physio's mind. Okay, I want to do masters, I want to do management, but there are also physios who wonder, even if I want to start my clinic, what are the things I need to look out for? Like since I even have my clinic, so basically I have a different type of exposure. Like I have been into hospitals, I have been into home health care, I have been into management, I have been into clinic. So I thought I'll try to make you understand. So how are these different fields in our own profession? So let me start the screen share.
I just want to add, Nupur, that I'm very glad that we are doing this topic because there are so many questions that physios have in their mind that what next, and that is why it is very important, and no one does this. So I'm glad you took up this topic, and we are here to talk about it.
Thank you so much, Asmita. Because seriously, when I completed my physiotherapy and I was literally wondering, okay, what's next? And to be
Yeah.
honest, when I had passed out, I was like, okay, सिर्फ masters करना है, वापस वही continue करना है. But there are so
Right.
many students who feel that, oh, after coming into physiotherapy and doing it for 4 years, they would probably realize, no, I am not into clinical. So what should I do? To tend to change your opinion or feel, okay, this is not what I want to do. This is not what I want to do. What should I do next? And then they don't have idea what is the career and they will like, okay, and they reluctant to go ahead. But that's not the case. It is the people who are hardcore clinicians, and there are physiotherapists who really want to get into the admin part of it. So let's
So,
just dive into it.
yeah.
So, again, as I said, that there are so many career options apart from being a clinician. You can start see clinicians, then you can start your own clinic. You can get into the hospital setup. Okay, in hospital setup, you get two procedures. There are hospitals who have people who have done physiotherapy are really seeing the patients. But if you are in one of those hospitals, you're seeing all variety of patients, right from cardiac, neuro. Then you get a lot of, you get a lot of exposure towards those type of patients as well. You will be handling patients right from the acute stage of injury to the chronic stage, and you will have a varied exposure, including the ICU exposure. So if you're someone who is looking for that type of exposure, hospital is your choice. Then you need to know what type of physical practice that I am good at. So you can go ahead with clinic. Then there are corporate. So generally, nowadays this big corporates like maybe Vodafone, Siemens, they have their own setup of clinics in their own building. Clinicians, maybe a GP, maybe a physiotherapist, an occupational therapist who visits them once a week, and the employees can avail those facilities where they can go and discuss with the doctors. So a lot of physiotherapists are also doing this. They're tying up with corporates, and that way also you can shine, like that. And even there are so many physiotherapists who have gone into the ergonomics, that who do specialization in ergonomics, who can get into corporate side as well. It is also a very interesting field. And then academics, yeah, this is one of the fields that if you feel that you don't feel yourself, you don't see yourself as a clinician, You can do your masters, you can do your PhD, and you can go into proper academics. You can even go into research. Like, we do need researches coming up in physiotherapy. We do need new discoveries that should come into physiotherapy. So why not get into it? That's a very interesting field. And then, of course, that what I did was I went into management, because that's what I felt that I liked it more. So, but every stream that you can see over here, I'm sure there is much more beyond this. So don't just restrict yourself being a clinician. Just think whatever you like. So my question for you is, okay, look at yourself, sit down, think about it. Now that I have completed my 4 years, or maybe in third year itself, you may realize, oh, this is not a creation part of my life. What else can I do? Think about it. Go on Google, start searching. Look at your seniors, what they are doing. Like, when I did my fourth year, I had seniors who I would question, okay, what did you do? What are the new steps? Okay, you went abroad. Okay, there is one more thing that's coming up. Oh, do I want to go abroad and learn, or do I want to stay in India? So that is also one question you need to ask yourself. Am I going to practice abroad? I'm going to practice here. So if you're planning to go abroad, then you have to know license procedure. What it is like working there. That's where you go and start talking to your seniors. You can go and start asking the people on Facebook. Like, we always think, social media is just like you can just put up stuff and watch stuff. But no, it's a good to develop. Like, if you see that, okay, this is one of my seniors from my college, let me go and ask them what exactly it is. So let me dive into the topic where I will be talking about clinic planning. So this is my take on what you can do as clinical, if you are into clinical practice. So many physios feel ki, okay, I need to start a clinic. I don't know how. So how to set up a clinic? This is something that is very important. Most don't know. They just feel that they open up a clinic and that's it. The end, the patients will start coming. But there is a lot of base work that goes into planning a clinic, which is not so easy. Like, when I speak about my experience as well. So when I planned of having a clinic, I had came back from UK, and I waited in India for almost like 2 years because I wanted to know the dynamics, how it works, what is the patient psyche, the area that I would like to open my clinic in, understanding what are the expectations of the doctors working here. Communication, I want to build up that as all the people around, may it be patients, may it be my colleagues, may it be the doctors, the orthopedicians, the GPs. It takes a little time to understand them and understand how I want to start up with it. So it definitely takes a little bit of time. So what kind of so there are financial implications where you feel that, okay, I cannot do this alone. I do want to go in with a friend of mine, or maybe someone or a colleague who I want to go ahead with. So you can think in that way. Like, if you are an MSK physiotherapist, would you like to combine yourself with a neurotherapist, or maybe someone from cardiorespiratory therapist? And nowadays, physios have become so diverse. There are so many physiotherapists who are specializing only in ANC, PNC, those who are only specializing in Pilates for that reason, those who are also specialized in issues. So do you want to or do you want to solo? So what are the advantages that you get? The partners can often provide what's missing, whether that be money, of course, as I said, it can help you financially as well, experience, relationships, or business acumen. In other words, bringing in a partner may fill a critical gap and in turn allow you to achieve even greater success what you could accomplish on your own. As I said, if like I have a Asmita with me who looks after my neuro cases, so that way, it helps me. Okay, I want the specialized care from a certain physiotherapist. So I will be able to capture that type of, like, the crowd in that area. Okay, I'm giving this plus this. So that way I can, like, reduce my stress over all the patients, and I can give it a little bit better way. So just for that part, but what will happen is you can, after clashes, okay, there can be a loss of control. You too, again, you will have to think about the part that, okay, am I doing good? Okay, is the other person helping me in this? Is the other person also bringing in on table as much as I am? Differences of opinion, dangers of mixing business and friendship. Entering into a partnership is not something to take lightly, especially considering getting out of partnership is much harder than getting into one. Okay, so it can be a difficult thing when you get into a partnership. It can have a lot of implications. So think out when you, that's why I say take time, jot down all the points, and think, do I want to get into a partnership or do I want to go solo? And what are the advantages of having solo business practices? That you are on your own, you can make your own decisions, you can receive all the profits, but again you have to deal with everything alone. You have to do the admin part alone, you have to do the marketing part alone. So you will have a lot of burden apart from being a physiotherapist. You will have to look at the admin, the marketing part as well. But if you're okay with it, you still go ahead with it. So again, what is the compensation practice that you would like to go ahead with? I feel that we don't have so much of insurance based practice over in India, but you can definitely go, like, nowadays we have tie-ups with Paytm, cash based cash based, or maybe you can have all those something like that. So this is one point. But if you're practicing abroad, we even have to look after the insurance base. The clinics have to tie up with those insurance companies as well. That's why I have put up this point. So how
One
should I
point I would
determine?
like to add,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, sorry. One point that, because I have many patients coming to me right now, that I think lately the insurance companies has started including physio sessions,
Oh,
and that is why billing is also a very important part when you have your own clinic or when you have your own uh, home physical therapy or whatever it is. So you also have to take care of the billing part. So if the documentation part is also equally important here for the insurance per se.
Yes. So yeah, this is one of the parts. Thank you, Asmita, for bringing up. You have to do your documentation appropriately, because the patient, as you
Right.
said, that going in for reimbursement, that is when they will look for all the documentations and everything. Correct? Yeah.
Right.
Perfect.
Yes.
So how should I determine my location? So a lot of people have a question saying, ki, okay, I want to start my clinic. Okay, I have to start it here. But I recommend that look around in that area. Maybe how much you can want whether you can understand going to do Facebook and what they are doing. Or maybe you can figure out, okay, if they are doing a certain practice, how can I make sure that my practice is shining out? Okay, then how can I make sure that even I get those patients, that type of patients? So my idea would be like, go determine the location first. It can be that, okay, you can't just think, okay, मेरे घर से करीब है इसलिए मेरे को इधर शुरू करना है. It can't be like that. You may have to travel a bit. You can find out, okay, there is a certain area from where I'm staying, but there is no clinic that's offering. So that way you can have to go, like literally go on a hunting spree, where I want to go, what I want to do. So go do that first, determine what location. Secondly, you have to even see, is the clinic based on the ground floor or is it on the first floor? How accessible it will be for the patients. Like, there will be patients who will be coming after they have to climb up the stairs. So you have to even look at the feasibility on that part. Or if the patient, if it's in a certain area and you have like car parking, if it's somewhere in the far corner of a city, then the patients would not find it easy to come to that clinic. You have to come what specialty should I choose? So, as I said, there are so many different, what do you say, things that are coming into physiotherapy as well. Since I have done my, since from 4 years as well, I was sure that I want to physiotherapist, physiotherapy. But then, if you are someone who's a fan of geriatric, okay, you like to work ahead with geriatric cases, why not do your research in that, do your masters in that, go ahead with what are the things you can come up differently in that. If you're a fan of something, so what physical therapy work do you enjoy doing? You have to first ask that and go ahead with that. Market potential for your specific area of interest. It is easy to say, okay, I like something very niche, but ask yourself, when I do a certain niche profile in my career, am I going to get the returns that, that well for that niche? If I go ahead with something very specific, like if I are you sure in that area you would get that many patients for that particular reason in your clinic? So think about it that way. You can be a good therapist, but again, when you have to think about the returns that you get out of that niche, you have to consider that as well. Okay, what type of patients do you enjoy working with? I like, if I like to work with the sports based rehab, so my target patients will be someone else. Enjoy working with my target will be something else. So think about what I like to work with. So what ideas do you have that you can help increase the success in your chosen niche? As I said, if you pinpoint a certain niche, how will it help me? Like how am I good in it that it will help my career? Any other physical therapists who have built a successful practice in that niche, I always say talk. Okay, speak to your seniors, speak to the other therapists that you feel that okay, they have done something good in that profession. Let me speak to them, let me get the advice. I don't think so anyone will be saying, oh no, I'm not gonna speak, like I'm not gonna tell you all my business thing. You can just tell, yeah, I am interested in that. I would suggest if you have just passed out from fourth year or you are looking for your internship and all, post internship, try working with them, going to observerships, try working with certain clinics, right? If you have a good, if you want to get into the hospital based setting, try doing observerships in hospitals. Then you understand, okay, this is what a real world looks like. I may not like it or I may like it. That way it will help you definitely.
True.
Yeah, even Asmita can put up, she has chosen something like home based like rehab that she
Yeah.
likes to do. What would be your experience like?
I think I can tell one experience I would like to share here is that when I came to India from US, I really wanted to open my own rehab clinic. I had this in mind that I want a neuro rehab clinic and all that. So I started researching. As you told, I started speaking to our seniors who are already into the same field, and I was asking them, what should I do? What should I not do for my neuro rehab clinic? But when I went into it in more and more details, first of all, our roads, like as a country, we are still developing, and we don't have accessible roads for people who have disabilities, right? So when you think of a neuro rehab clinic, especially in neurological conditions, people are not able to come to your clinics. It's very difficult. And then they need support. They are always dependent on someone. They need a caregiver. So it becomes very difficult for the patients to, target patients with neurological conditions to come to your clinic. And so that was one main concern, that even if you open a neuro rehab clinic, what about these patients? And that's why in neuro sector specifically, home physical therapy is a big thing, because these patients are usually into geriatric age group, plus they have disabilities with neurological conditions, and they are always dependent on someone or the other. So it becomes very difficult for them to come to the clinic and get the rehab done. So right now, at least, it's very difficult to open a very niche neuro rehab center, and hence home physical therapy in neurological aspect is very in demand. So that's how I went into neuro rehab, into home physical therapy. So
Yes,
you have to consider all these factors. It's just not that, okay, today I have space, I have money, I'm going to open a neuro rehab center. But what about the patients? You have to think about that aspect also. They should be able to come to you. And if that's not going to be possible, then there is no point opening a clinic,
exactly.
right? So
Yes, that
it's
is
a call.
something like this is one of the stream in, as I said, the niche. You can go in ANC, you can go in pelvic, you can go in Pilates, you can even go in home based rehab, which Asmita said is a lot. It's a big field right now because there are so many home rehab that are happening. So yeah, you can even think about that, on those lines as well. So
Right.
when you start a clinic, the next thing, okay, you have decided what area you wanted, you have even decided what niche you wanted. So what do I know about purchasing equipments? First of all, you need to consider how big is your clinic. Is it like small, like take a consultation? Like, lot of polyclinics have this thing that you can, okay, hire one like a small area in the clinic and you can have a certain time that is for you only. Like, you can only have access to come 2 hours that you can do. But if you have your own, so in those settings, you have to even consider, okay, the space is limited. So what equipment do you want to focus on? So again, that would be your question. But if you have the luxury of having a big clinic where you have a good sitting area, you have a gym area where you can practice your free weights and exercises and all that, all that setup. and even you have one more area where you can have consultations in that area. So that also you consider. Okay. Second thing is when you have equipments in the beginning, don't invest into high-end equipments if you don't know how much you're going to get in return. So if you are going to invest into a high-end combination machine or something, first year itself you'll be thinking, "अरे मैंने इतना पैसा डाल दिया." Okay, but then what you can do is you can have separate units. You can have treatment table. There are some of the eyes that it's up to you. Technically, like you want that is go ahead. But you can also get investment आएगा. उससे आप twisting and turning, okay, invest something like that sort. If you know that okay, you may not have that big area for gym equipments like treadmills or cycles, okay, you can have something like you can have sports wristbands. I think those you will be able to keep them at home. So better. You have the lavishness of an area and a lot of financial support. You can definitely go with a full-fledged clinic setup. That is also one thing you can do. And free marketing. Referrals make up a large part of new business for most physical therapists. So referrals, as I said, marketing is when you're starting a clinic. Referrals, you tell them what you're doing. Okay, what have you done? Your feedback till now. You can even talk to the orthopedicians. Okay, I have started my clinic over here. If you would like to have patients, you can distribute pamphlets in what is they're offering. And the best way of doing it is social media. Go on Google, make up your page, start your page. Okay, just show whatever you're done, make your own website. If you want to hire a PR agent or something like that for you, there are a lot of companies who are offering it. If you're not that creative, you can hire someone, you can pay them, they will design your website, they can design your web page, they can even handle your web page such that they will put on giving keep on giving creatives from your company. Like if you have a clinic and you give them like 1 year contract that you need to do the publicity for my clinic, they will keep on taking reviews, they will try to make it a more creative and more lively. You are online nowadays, like more people are knowing who you are, and nowadays people are like Google physiotherapists in my area, and they keep on seeing who are in this area, who are more active, who have more reviews. Ask your patients, whoever you're coming in the clinic, to give reviews on Google. It doesn't have to be always like beto Google review though, but do have in one point like do give us a review if you like our services. You can definitely do that. I think even when we go to any place, we try to check out the reviews, right? Even that makes a big impact. Google reviews, you can do a lot of for example, which is like a medical directory for all types of doctors. So that is also one of the things. And I think Asmita and I have just started like blogging and creating web content. That way also it helps for the patients and the people around the area to understand, okay, what are they doing, what are the new things that have come up. Okay, that way also it helps. Asmita, you'd like to put a point about
Yeah,
that?
I mean, definitely it gives us marketing and free of cost. Definitely that's there. And also you learn so much. I mean, with these reviews that your patients give you, you're getting good feedback or bad feedback. Take it positively, learn from your feedbacks, try to grow as a physiotherapist. Also these blogging contents and all, definitely the marketing aspect is there. Also, we have to keep learning. I have to learn from you, you have to learn from me. So always update yourself, read a lot of research, try to take these research into your practical aspect. So yes, definitely this is a very good point that you have to start using social media in your profession, whichever it is.
Yes.
Big point here.
Yes. So that is what I had to talk about the clinic, and that is how you can go ahead with starting and setting up your own clinic. And next, I would love to talk about management and administration. So, what does actually management mean? Okay. So after, like, I'll tell you what I did after my physiotherapy practice. I completed my bachelor's. I went ahead with my master's, and then I decided I wanted something more. I had come back to India. I was doing the clinical therapy okay, I want something more. I want to do something that management. So exactly I did postgraduate diploma in administration and medical medicine at university. But I was sure I want to stay with physiotherapy and then have an add-on as a management. But there will be students who must be thinking, no, I don't want to do the clinical therapy at all. Fair enough, you have a full that you can do after your bachelor's. Okay, so there are many colleges like who offer you hospital admin as a course by itself. It is not what I did. I did a part-time course or maybe like a long distance course. There are therapists who have gone full-fledged inside management and they are doing very well because this is what they wanted. So what exactly comes into hospital? Since I did hospital admin, I'll tell you what comes into hospital administration. So when you get into management part, what you do is planning. So what exactly planning in the hospital coming up? You bring about planning of that department. You sit around with all the HODs. You understand what is the expectation, what you can develop, how you can develop, what the department that you can develop. Again, budgeting is also of management. You get into the budgeting part, part of some like it's technically hospital. So you are also budgeting cases, I want to go ahead with budgeting. Management also the services. Many hospitals now have departments. It can be pathology. It can be health. It can be about the PCAs who are coming in, the helpers who are coming in. So also that outsourcing department management technological updates like the use of new software for record management. Nowadays we all know that all the records are going on the computer and all. We no longer write the stuff, so bringing up those technologies, you understand what are the new technologies that have come up. Do you want to incorporate them in your practice in the hospital or whatever you are practicing in? Effective communication of new policies. You understand what are the new policies that you learn about those new policies. As an admin, as a manager, patient programs, benefit planning. You can even decide what are the new concepts and the new things you want to develop for patient. So these are all some, in fact, not all. These are some of the things that I learned when I did management. I learned about how to plan, how to budget. I learned about how to incorporate the new policies that have been coming up. Your know-how increases. You try to incorporate a lot of stuff and your knowledge base increases. So that way, I feel the management part really helps you. And not just that, after that, like as I said, hospital management, I did quality management, right? So there the streams open up. You can get into pharma basis, like, you can do healthcare management where you can enter pharma industry. You can get into quality management. Okay, that is something I will discuss in detail. And then you can even get inside, clinical research. There are courses that you can do specifically which get the physiotherapist or any medico like who is interested into clinical research. They get into clinical research. There are specific courses. You can go on Google and check it out. There are various cases. So it is not just clinical. You can literally dive into a big sea of healthcare management. So corporate, as I had already explained you in the beginning of my introduction as well, the physiotherapists can get into corporates in a way that they can tie up with companies. They can even, there are like this something I heard about. There are companies that manufacture shoes. Okay, so they want physiotherapists who are into sports and who are looking up at that aspect, and those who are into research. How a certain footwear help achieve, how they help this kind of option. So even corporates. It's a really nice field. You don't think about it that way, but yeah, there are therapists who are practicing it that niche. So what are the key skills to become a good physio? I'm not just saying just physio. You need those, those skills even to become a good hospital manager. Any profession, you need those qualities. Okay, so good practical skills. If you are like maybe a manager or maybe a physio who's doing that, or maybe a good academician, you need to skills matter. So like okay, and now we want to even a management, we have a lot of skill enhancing programs that take place. So how do we decide? Do we have to do all the workshop that is available? No. My suggestion would be find out what workshops you would like to attend. Find out how good it's going to help you. Like there are hundreds and thousands of workshops advertised. How is that workshop going to help you? Don't just run behind certificates. You first need to understand what is the credentials of those instructors. The one who's going to teach you. Is he even that good to teach you that? Okay, so because just get 10 दिन का हम लोग 10 दिन का but if you're not if that course is not going to teach you that skill, you're just running behind certificates, it is of no use. Okay, so find out if the course is really good, learning that skill is really good, that you can actually get into your practice and learn about how good that one person who's teaching you is. Go on, go online. You will get to learn a lot about those instructors and all. I would always say do a background check. Go to the ex students who have gone ahead with those programs. Do you recommend it? That way, I always say good communication skills is really good. Start speaking up. That's what I would suggest. Ability to solve problems, it can be in anyone, in the hospital, in academicians, or maybe clinicians. They need to have good solving skills. It can be any problem. It can be your problems with your colleagues, it can be problems with sometimes with your surroundings. How do you solve it to make it, it's not skills, how do you take decisions. Leadership and management skills, it play a good role. Are you a good leader, or are you good with taking up instructions? How good you are with hearing? Like I was doing management, I had to interact a lot with a lot of HODs who are 10 times elder to me. How good I am into convincing them when I'm telling them, okay, I want to get a certain change in those policies, or I want to get those policies in the hospital. So basically, how good you are in convincing. Are you a good leader? Do they look upon you saying, okay, whatever she is saying makes sense? You need to have good skills, yeah, for that thing. Communication skills, compassion, and a good bedside manner for anyone. Your communication needs to be a prime importance. As I say, half of the patients feel better when you just talk to them. If you're one of the therapists who just scares them in the first go, oh my God, this is what you have and all. But sometimes you see when you have a big patient, see a lot of juniors, you are solving half of the problems. The patients feel more closer to you. Okay, if you're in your managerial side, when you speak to your HODs or you're speaking to the subordinate, they feel more connected to you. Okay, whatever she's talking makes sense. That's why I always feel communicate. And the thing is, as I said, when you communicate better and your patients start feeling good with your treatment, they like the way you talk. I always feel patients are your best. They will go and tell other patients, oh, I went to this therapist, she was really good. She cured me with just her talking. Like I felt so close to her. I even disclosed to her a lot of other issues which I was facing. I always feel that your communication should be such that they feel close to you and they would like to be like, okay, kuch bhi ho jaye. I'm like, no, I really trust this doctor, please go ahead. Good work and good talking skills really earn you a lot of brownie points. I think Ashmita will also agree to that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because we see these patients on a very daily basis and we see them for a longer period of time. So that is why building a rapport is very important with these patients. But saying that, I would also like to mention here to all the physios is that build your professional limit also. Don't, like, the other day one of our seniors did give a wonderful lecture about the emotional boundaries that a physiotherapist has to keep, because it should not take a toll on your health or the patients, vice versa. Like, so or rapport, building a rapport is very important with all your patients, because if your patients won't believe in you, they won't get better. So that is very important. Mouth to mouth publicity is one of the best referrals you can get in physiotherapy. And also keep your professional limit and go ahead with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So drive to continue learning throughout career. Never see our career is going to be there. You will never stop learning. You will understand the things that we learned like 5 years back are obsolete now. So you can't just keep on practicing the same thing. You need to keep yourself updated. What are the new researches that have come up? What are the new techniques that have come up? That's why I always say, if you want to get into the academic side and do research, you might also come up with something. Okay, this technique is no longer needed. Okay, we can start off with this techniques, get into it, dive into it, and always continue learning in the career. always feel that I even sometimes learn from my patients as well. You know, they sometimes tell me, oh yeah, but you know, sometimes this is what happens to me. Then I realize, okay, this can be correlated. Okay, so try to learn from anything possible. Okay, like I'm trying to do it both way. When you're into management side, you know, speak to your like people around you. You like trying to learn a lot of things to them. You know, their experience is so vast that you can learn things about like certain things from them. So always keep on learning. Never have this high-headedness in your head saying, "Okay, that's it. I have done so many courses. I have done my masters. I know everything." Nothing. Be humble. Is what my suggestion would be. Analytical ability and time management. Time management is something we have to do. I know a lot of therapists who are doing home visits plus their clinic plus their hospitals. I myself did it. So be very dedicated with your time. You know, patients respect and people respect you if you are a good who's someone good with time. So you know, always respect your time, always respect that. Okay. You know, she's good with everything. All these factors make you a good physio. So I would request you that, you know, try to incorporate these points in your life. And that is what from my side I would like to tell you all. And we can dive into the questions, Asmita.
Sure. Thank you so much, Nupur. It was a wonderful session. I think we covered almost everything. And management, obviously, it will help us in the hospital administration and all that, but it will also help us in our own setup of clinic or own setup of rehab center also. So it's always a good thing to do. So yeah, I think it was great. And I would just add one single point here is that this is according to me. Please tell me what is your view on this. Is that whenever we pass out from physiotherapy, I think we should not directly go into clinics. I think we should always work in an institute. You also did the same thing because you should understand your skills. How is your skills? You should get that experience when you work in a hospital setting or any other institution. You get that understanding of the patient therapist relation, the management part, everything. Plus, you build contacts. And once you know that you are good in all these places and you're good to go, only then think of a clinic. This is what I personally believe.
Yes, this definitely, again, this is like what you have experienced, I have experienced. When I
Right.
started talking, when I started working, I worked in a hospital, I even worked in a clinical setup. I came to know how to manage all those things. I learned about this. But if I, like, you know, when you're in a college, try to agree or disagree. You're always under the shadow. You don't have that fear. You always have your seniors and your professors who you can lean back on. But when you're out in the open, you're like, okay, now what? Everything is based on your clinical judgment. So I always think, Asmita, I always, like, I agree to you. I will also suggest we go ahead, get some practice. Like I did my masters. After that, also I did, you know, hospital and visiting and all that. I did it for 3 years. I tried to understand the dynamics. Then I went into the clinical practice, so I could build up my rapport before I dive into it. Yeah, so that is a good point that you brought up.
So I think let's just go to the question answer session.
Yes.
Just let us pull up 1 second. Yes. So one person is asking that my clinic has opened recently. It's almost a year, and yet I'm getting very less references. What should I do?
Okay. So what I would suggest is, okay, it's just 1 year. I always say that don't give yourself a deadline saying, "Ek saal mein I have to get so many patients." As I said, it takes a time to build up a rapport. Okay. Even when I started my clinic, I wasn't expecting in a year I'll get thousands of patients. You have to build up that rapport. You have to be known in that area. Okay. Go and speak to the consultants. I think I had a talk with that, like, you know, that person who had asked this question, that you need to go and speak to the consultants. You need to tell them, like, all the GPs in that area, these are the facilities I am giving in. And after a year or so, you can keep on showing your good reviews. Yeah, I'm getting so many patients. Okay, they are getting such a good review out of it. Okay, then again, as I said, come up on social media. Show your good things on social media. Okay, people nowadays, patients are even so good. They go on Google and find out that therapist in that area. They see, okay, this therapist has so many good reviews, or this therapist has you know, so many things. Put up the photos of your clinic in social media. They will come to know, oh, this is that. Okay, you can speak, like, you know, give a small description about you, what all facilities that you're provided, what have you have learned. So that way, it can help a lot of a lot of patients to come back to you. Even when you are talking to your patient or something like that, I always feel patients are your first referrals, before all the other things. In a way, try to build up a good rapport with them. Okay, don't think that it is only just 1 year now I'm getting disheartened. Don't get disheartened. Have a good communication. Start building up rapport with everyone, and I actually say your friends and families are also good referral system. Try
Yes.
to send them, try to be active, like, oh, I have started this, oh, these are the new reviews that I'm getting, oh, this is something which I have done, some good things that I have learned. Keep on yourself, be vocal. That's all I'm saying. Start communicating. You just can't start a clinic and just stay inside for a year and not do anything. Of course, I'm sure you must have done that as well. But I would still say keep on talking, keep on talking. It's not gonna happen overnight. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Anything you would like to add, Asmita, like
No,
communication?
I think the marketing is something which is very important. I mean, any profession you take, marketing is key here. So you need to tell people how good you are, how, advertisements, that how good the product is. So you also need to show them how good your skills are. So yeah, just focus on marketing and do your good work. Your skills will automatically get your referrals.
Absolutely.
So
Your
just give it
skills,
a time because 1 year is very new.
exactly. I always feel your skills will shine. You don't have to sometimes even tell anyone. Okay, they will,
Correct.
as I said, the patients themselves will realize she is a good doctor or he is a good doctor. Okay, let's just tell everyone. Okay, you know what? This is, I went for a treatment there and they really liked it. Why don't you go and try there? So go ahead, good.
And
Take,
please do that.
yes,
Do
absolutely.
that because mouth to mouth publicity is something, as I told before, also it's one of the biggest source of reference that we
Absolutely,
get.
absolutely. Yes.
And also the contacts that is why it is important to work in a hospital or somewhere else, because you have to build contacts. Contacts is the key here. So once
Yes,
you have the contacts, then definitely you will start getting references.
absolutely.
I think one more thing I would like to suggest here is that maybe you can do some awareness sessions. Like,
Mhm.
you, if suppose, for example, my clinic is in Bandra, go around in that area, do some awareness sessions, tell people about physiotherapy, about your clinic, what is, maybe have a, small awareness session, a small talk in certain societies or certain clubs or something like that, which is also a part of marketing again.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I missed that point. That is really good. Like, you can start having a small awareness program, as Asmita said. That also works. And I have done it for my own clinic as well. So it
Yes.
works. Sorry, I missed that point. And thank you, Asmita, for bringing it up.
Okay, great. The next question is, since you have done quality management, what exactly is the job like? So what was your job profile in the hospital? Like as a quality manager, what do you have to do basically in the hospital?
Oh, great. That's a very interesting question because in management, as I said, I think even you had added what are the different streams in it. Okay. So
Yeah, the
once
subset.
you, yeah. So once you do hospital admin, right, it is like you realize, that, okay, the only job of a hospital admin, the one who was passed on is like sit into the admin shoes and be like a hospital manager. It's not like that. That's when you actually get into inside a hospital, you realize there are various roles that have been assigned. Okay, so there is patient care executive, okay, those who look after the complaints by the patients, who look for the different programs they can build up for patient, improving the patient satisfaction. So the roles, I'm just explaining all the roles in the hospital management that you have, and I'll come up to the quality which I did. So the patient manager, like the grievance manager, what do they do is they go and ask all the patients. So what are your complaints? What are the things that you would like to see improved in the hospitals? Then whatever comments that the patients write in the feedback form or something, they will go read through it. They will realize, okay, these are what the patients are expecting. How can we incorporate those in my hospital? That way, those is the role of the patient, and how can they solve the issues of that patient? That is one of the role that you can take up if you're really good with speaking and you really feel like, okay, I like this field when I am directly talking to the patients and trying to do something for them. That is one of the areas you can look up to. Second is you can be managing certain departments, that sometimes you need to start very small. You will be managing a certain OPD department, or you will be managing a little bigger department like OT and all that. So that comes under the managerial part. Okay, OT, ICU, or maybe OPD, that you can manage, small departments that you have to manage. Then there is admin role also, that which is non-medical. There is medical and non-medical. So in non-medical you will be doing the managing of for example, um, housekeeping department. That is also one of the department that you will be looking after. Or maybe even kitchen department. So there are departments that you will be handling, like those are groups that you can target. Okay, I'm interested in that, I'm interested in non-medical field. Or maybe when you're into hospital admin, you have to directly speak even to the consultants. If you fancy yourself going into the medical part of management, this is what you can do. And non-medical, as I said, there are many as, like you can even go ahead with those non-medical parts as well. Now I specifically did quality because have you heard of NABH? All the hospitals are right now, and like half of, like they are going into NABH accreditation, JC accreditation. So what, as a quality manager, I do is, whatever policies, all the hospitals have SOPs, how a certain department has to work. So I look behind all those SOPs, state this, scope of procedure, like how do you how a certain procedure happens in a hospital. I look for those. Okay, if this is for example, this is OPD department, so right, to stand the standard of procedure, like how the patient will come, what is the person sitting in the OPD will do, how you will greet them, what they will do, what is the tally procedure, what do you give, what do you speak when you're giving appointments, how do you make sure that the time spent by the patient at your like in that patient waiting area was how much. You're
Hmm.
going into the niche of it. So that is when you, and how do you improve quality is that you need to make sure that the patient are not spending too much time waiting. How do you make
Right.
sure you can incorporate certain aspect? How can I decrease that waiting time? How can you improve that the patients who are availing those services, how can they be happier with those services? So as a quality officer, what I used to do is, I used to get those timings. I used to build up on those SOPs. I used to have the meetings with different departments, how you can build up the quality. Okay, if a certain department is having some issues, I go and check the timings. Okay, the revert back, for example, the pathology, the reports are not going out in a certain time. How can we develop those timings? You have to sit up with the department. You have to speak. Okay, is it because that the reports are taking time to generate, or is it that the reports are getting generated, but the way the IT thing is not getting balanced, that they are not reflecting properly at a very quick time, or something like that. Something like, I'm just giving examples. So this is where
Right.
you work as a quality officer. And the next part, the important parts comes when your hospital is getting NABH accredited. So you need to learn about the NABH standards. You make sure that those standards are practiced in your hospitals. Like as I said, you have to even look after, like if there is any chip paint, how can it have an adverse effect? Not just that, it can harbor infections as well. So you need to have a certain paints running across the hospital. So you need to actually go into, right from the painting the wall, the chip coming out of the wall, to the fact that if there are something lying around, okay, this is not what I want. Or including that, how your medical reports are generated, or how the doctors are writing prescriptions. You must be knowing the prescription has to be in capital letters. So are those happening? You have to do a lot of audits. You have to do a lot of like dry runs of code blue, code red. You have to keep those running. Basically, you're looking after the quality of the hospital. Okay, it is not just one team. I'm not alone in that team. There are a lot of other departments who help me in it. Quality management is such that you have to make sure the hospital has good quality, and that is where my role comes in. Not just NABH or JC accreditation. You have to make sure, any you go in any hotels or something, you do want a certain quality, right? So this is what
Right.
my role is in a hospital. I make sure that the quality of the hospital is top class. This is what my
Wow.
role would be.
That really explains like how a hospital works, and really, I mean, commendable job as a quality manager. I mean, seriously, it is a lot to do, and I am sure you were great at it.
Yes.
So thank you for explaining us in such detail. So let's move to the next question. Which all colleges give hospital management courses?
Okay, to be honest, I may be aware, like, few, but I'm sure when you go in Google, you will just type on and you will understand. What I did, I just typed on, you will get a whole list, including
Right.
the ranking. But just to say a few, in Mumbai, I have seen TIS is there, then Belinkar is there. They're really good colleges, okay? And I think TIS and all also gives like on campus, like those who are doing a full, what do you say, full course with them,
Full
the
time
man,
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
full time course, you will even get on campus, placements as well. Apart from that, even Symbiosis in Pune is giving a full-time course. And if you're interested in going abroad, that's also good. US is one of the countries who offers those courses, but of course, there are various other countries who offer those courses as well. So if you're looking for something abroad, yes, you can go ahead. Hospital management is being taught abroad as well. You should go ahead with that as well.
So I think the best thing is to decide on a subsection which you want to enter, Google it, research about it, talk to people who have done it, and accordingly decide.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so next question is, what are your views about doing masters here and abroad?
Oh wow, that's an interesting question. Asmita also can answer because she has done her masters in USA. So my experience would be that it is a different experience. You are hardcore into research based, evidence based practice. That is one of the things. They just don't go ahead. Okay, this is certain treatment that we are doing, but why? And you have to even respect the patients. Sometimes you realize, okay, a person, the patient over there, sometimes says, no, I don't want to do a certain treatment, so you need to explain it in a way. I think all those skills also I learned from them, the evidence based practice. Your skills also improve. It is different. Your documentation in the skills increases horribly. Even Asmita will
Yes.
agree to that. Their documentations is really good. Yeah, I think Asmita can add up to this. I actually thought learning abroad gave me a little edge, like in a way that it made my skills, it sharpened my skills. Okay, I
Correct.
learned the skills. I already learned. To be honest, when you do bachelor's, you're expected to know those skills. You have to know what is clinical research. You need to know how to, how to do communication, how to do how to do those skills. But when you go abroad, you realize that there is a whole vast world that is different. You sharpen your skills. This is what I learned from being abroad. Asmita, you would like
Yeah,
to
I mean,
add on?
yeah. I mean, see, we really cannot comment on masters in India because we both have not done masters here. So we don't know exactly what is the course structure. A person who has done masters in India can definitely tell you better the course structure about doing masters in India. But as Nupur said, the reason we decided to go masters, I can speak for myself, is because I had already known the approach in my bachelor's, what is an approach towards the patient in an Indian scenario. Like, because when you're doing your bachelor's, you're doing so much of clinical work also in your postings and all that. You get an idea of what is the approach that as a therapist you have towards the patient in an Indian scenario. So I just wanted to learn a different approach, and that's what I learned when I went to US and did my master's. The skills are same, the techniques are same, the conditions are same, everything is same. It's just the way you look at it, the way you approach the condition, the way you do it. It's that is the biggest difference I feel. And as I said, we cannot really comment on the course structure of masters in India because we don't know, but definitely we have sharpened the skills. And I'll tell you why the documentation part is so big there is because insurance, everything is based on insurance there in India. Still we are not able to achieve that insurance aspect towards physiotherapy. We are getting there, it's not that we are not. And that is why documentation is so important out there. Everything has to be correct, and that is how it should be, whether insurance or not insurance. Like today, even if my patients are not taking insurance, you still should document. Even no one is asking you about it, you should still document it, because when you're documenting it, you are actually analyzing yourself and the patient, what the patient is doing, what are you doing correct things, if not, go and correct those things and all that. So basically the approach. And I mean, I'm sure, see, I have not worked in a hospital in India, so I don't know about the hospital scenario. Nupur can answer this better. But when you work there, very small things like when we were doing our masters, when we were giving our practical examinations, we had these safety points, which I'm sure it's everywhere. It's not only in any foreign country, it's everywhere. But this is the things I learned there, is that sanitize your hand. Now, though, of course, everyone is going to sanitize because of COVID situations, but the habit that they put us in, if by chance we forgot to sanitize our hands before going into a practical scenario, we were failed. Like, that is the end of your exam. I mean, you cannot move ahead because that was a safety tip. So these small tips, I'm just giving you small examples. So as I said, the approach, the clinical setting, there are so many other things. I learned about virtual reality in US. I'm sure virtual reality is now very well developed in India. This is 6-7 years back I'm talking about. So, but for me, virtual reality, I was exposed to virtual reality in US. So these are very small things. There are no major differences. It's just, again, the scenario, the environmental factors actually take place. As I said, we don't have many neuro rehab centers in India because our roads are not accessible to these patients. There are many neuro rehab centers in foreign countries because the country is developed and there are accessible roads. So these differences, they lead to different approaches. That's the major role here, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you. Like as you said, those different like clinical things that you learned over there. Like even I think as an MSK, I came to know there are a lot of. I think they are doing it now over here. But when you are in
Right.
the other country, they already had great analysis labs. They had
Labs.
robotics. Okay, so their approach was definitely very different, and they already had gone ahead. So I think it is still coming. I'm not saying it's not over here anymore, but yeah, you learned those new techniques and technologies before over there, and you have learned it, you have used it.
Right. I
Yeah.
think when we went, which was 7 years back, when we went there, that time these technologies were not really developed in India yet. They were developing, they were still there, but not as much as it's developed now. Now India almost has, we have so many good neuro rehab centers here in Bombay, like, in hospitals, we don't have it separately, but in hospitals, we have almost everything now. So I think now India has also got that approach, and we are also on the same page, I guess, right now.
Yes, definitely. So it is totally up to you. Like if you want to go abroad or if you want to stay there, it is really like what do you see yourself? Do you see yourself working here with your own population, or do you want to go abroad and work with a different set of population with different things?
Yeah, I mean, that also matters. If you really want to settle in some other country or work in some other country, it's better you do masters there because you'll understand and approach better. But if
Absolutely.
you're planning to stay here and work here, then it might be better to do a masters here. So it's on your choice. For us, just to summarize, it is different approaches because of the different environmental and economical factors as a developed and a developing country. I think that is it. Rest, you can always research about the course structure.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Okay, one last question, Nupur, is about teleconsultation, tele-rehab. What are your views about it?
Oh, okay. So I really feel tele-rehab has gotten what do you say? Uh, right now a boost due to corona. So otherwise tele-rehabilitation, to be honest, people were like aware कि okay, you can do this. Sometimes you think कि okay, phone pe bata dete hain and all that, but I don't think so. Now it has become a little bit know how to do analysis. There are a lot of courses that have come up right now suddenly, cropped up during COVID. How to do tele-rehab, they actually tell you how to assess, how to give a rehab program to a patient. All said and done, okay, it's something good, and I feel that you need to incorporate this techniques in even in your curriculum now. To be honest, I wasn't knowing about tele rehab. Now because due to corona and all that, I started learning, okay, I need to do this. I went online and searched how abroad people are doing it, how the therapists who have started here, what are the things that they are incorporating. There are different programs on computer that you can use, and there are apps on the mobile where you can tell the patient, okay, you have to do this exercises, evaluate, computer evaluate on them when you're talking virtually. But again, said and done, I think Asmita, if you would like to talk about what are the medical legal implications that tele rehab and all can
Yeah, I mean,
take
first
care.
and importantly, initially when this COVID situation started, everyone just thought, like, why not tele-rehab? We just started doing tele-rehab, even if we didn't have the training to do it because it was just basic a video call. But now, Nupur and I both have attended so many webinars on tele-rehab, and we have understood that, there should be an official training for tele-rehab and people are working towards it. I mean, the webinar that we attended the other day, they also were saying that tele-rehab should be a part of the course structure now, given the necessity of it in today's day. So there should be a proper training because it's just not video call. If this is going to be for a longer time, then you need to know how to assess. We are actually currently doing another webinar where we are learning about gate, how to assess gate via tele-rehab, and that's where she pointed out that we have these softwares that we can use to analyze the gate on video calls. So all this is very important. So training part is very important. Just don't blindly just do a video call and start doing sessions with the patients. Understand what is the necessity, what they want, assess the patients, even range of motion and all those things can be assessed on video conferencing. So you have to learn those things. There are so many webinars on that also, and maybe there will be a full-fledged course once all this is over about tele rehab, where you will understand. So just keep yourself updated about this, as we are doing right now. We are learning how to analyze a gait on tele rehab, and that too objectively. Okay, so we are going to learn through softwares and all that. So just do that. And also a very important point that one of our professors actually brought up during your seminar was that consent is very important. Always take consents from your patient before tele rehab, because you are not personally present there. You don't know what is going to happen. Of course you're going to take all the care, you're going to keep the safety precautions and all that, but there should not be any point where someone can point it out to you. So always a consent form is important, where you make them understand that how tele rehab works, what are the limitations of tele rehab, what are the risks of tele rehab, what are the advantages, disadvantages of tele rehab, because safety is key to us. Safety is the most important thing to us. So always remember that, make a format of a consent form and use that with your patients first, and only then start a tele rehab session.
Yeah, I think I would like to point out, like, we are physical therapists. I think what we do with our hands, evaluate, when you actually see the patient in person, it's a different thing when you're actually doing on the screen or on the mobile. So it's a different ball game altogether. Learn it, don't just dive into it. Learn it, how to do it. There are nowadays even the researches that have come up, like, okay, can you treat a certain patient doing tele rehab? What are the cases you can do using tele rehabilitation? Go read about the researches. But yeah, as Asmita said, consent and medical legal, you have to keep in your mind when you go ahead with that.
Right, yes. I think, yeah, that's all for today. I think we have tried and covered a lot of points. But if you all have any questions, as we always say, please contact us. You can comment down. You can DM us on our Instagram or Facebook accounts that we have already shared before. And we will be very happy to help you. We will be coming up on more and more topics which are related for a physio crowd. So let us know if you all want any specific topic, and we will try and include that.
Absolutely, Asmita. And thank you so much, because I could talk about this topic. And I would certainly, now that people will start thinking, okay, what next? What more I can do? There are so many things that maybe even I'm not aware of. There is something like, called as physiotherapy in veterinary sciences. Even that is one of the upcoming field that is coming up. So even some of the physios can even think on that line. There is actually, once you have done with your bachelor's or master's also, you can literally dive into any stream you want to. Just think about it, go online, research. Okay, what not this, then I want to do this. Okay, go. There are some people like physios will think, okay, I have a certain liking for veterinary as well. Veterinary rehabilitation, there are certain courses abroad that have come up. Go into it, think about it, go talk to the curriculum what they have given up on the online course. Go ahead with it. Literally next thing I know, I will be probably knowing a lot of therapists who are doing really well in different fields, not just being a clinician or academician, different fields altogether. So thank you so much, Asmita. I had a good time discussing with you.
Thank you, Nupur, for bringing us this topic and telling us about this, because it was very important. And for you all, if you all know any of these fields which we don't know, we would like to know. So please comment below and tell us about these fields where, as a physiotherapist, we can explore more and more.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.